Hi. Welcome to Someone Else's Movie, the podcast where an actor, writer, director, or nebulous industry figure gives a little love to a movie they didn't make. I'm Norm Wilner, senior film writer for Now Magazine, and this is the other thing I do. My guest this week is Sarah Kolasky, an actor and filmmaker who stars in the new drama Great, Great, Great. Sarah co-wrote and co-produced it with her longtime friend and collaborator Adam Garnet Jones, who also directed, and she gives a terrific performance as Lauren, a very nice young woman who finds herself at a crossroads in her life and responds by making some really questionable decisions. The film screens at landmark theaters across Canada this Wednesday, October 4th, as part of their Canadian indie film series, and then it goes into general release on Friday. You should really check it out. Sarah picked Morvern Callar, Lynne Ramsay's intensely focused 2002 adaptation of Alan Warner's novel about a woman who wakes up one morning to find her boyfriend dead by his own hand. All he's left behind is a note, some money, and a completed novel, and what she does next is, well, she makes some really questionable decisions of her own. It's a strange, alienating film, and one that requires a lot of patience from the viewer, but Samantha Morton is absolutely magnetic in the lead, and Ramsay knows it. We're drawn to Morvern even as she pushes us away. Also, about 2 minutes in, we won't remember the name of the song dedicated to the one I love. Just warning you. This is Someone Else's Movie.
I chose Morvern Callar because the first time I watched it, I was in high school, and I remember watching it with my friend, and I hated it the first time I saw it. I was so frustrated by it. I didn't understand what it was supposed to be about, and it just felt like the pacing was so slow, and I didn't know what the point was, and it's maybe the first film that I remember having that type of reaction to.
Okay.
And then I rewatched it a few years later. I'm not sure why, but for whatever reason, I came back to it and then just loved it. Like, everything clicked for me. And it just suddenly, it made sense. I think I identified a lot more with it at the time. And I just understood that it was a movie about grieving, or at least that, to me, what it was the real message of the film. And I found it much more moving the second time I watched it when I was a little older.
Yeah, had you experienced loss between the two?
I don't think so. Like, yeah. I think my cat died.
No, that's fine.
I think, I was just in a different place in my life. I don't remember exactly when I rewatched it, but it was probably in university or something. So maybe like 10 years ago, something like that. Okay. And I think I could appreciate it more, and having seen a wider breadth of films at that point, and and just the last song at the end of, I guess, am I allowed to ruin the film for people?
we're assuming the premise of the podcast is essentially you might as well have seen this if you're listening to
okay, yes, so, please watch this movie. And there's not a lot of plot in it, so I feel like I'm not really ruining.
It's hard to spoil it, really.
The opening scene is the one, it's once you've seen the opening, that's sort of the big giveaway. But when she's at the club and it's revealed for the last scene, when it's revealed that she's listening to the Mamas and the Papas.
Oh, the song, sorry. California Dreaming?
No, Darkest Hours Just Before Dawn. Bum, 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 bum. While I'm far away from you, my baby. Right. Or whatever the title is called. But when it's revealed that she's listening to that song at the end on her earphones from the mixtape that her boyfriend made for her, everything sort of came together for me in that scene. I was like, oh my gosh, she's just in this very deep grieving process and trying to figure out who she is now that she now that her boyfriend is gone.
Okay. I had a similar reaction the first time I saw it. I did not like it. I found it crushingly slow. Yeah, and right. It is. Yeah. It's a really deliberately paced film. Mm-hmm. But I was in my 2002, 2003, so I was in my mid-30s. Mm-hmm. And just got impatient with it very, very quickly. And the second time I watched it, which was maybe not until We Need to Talk About Kevin came out again, because Ramsay went away for a while. She was trying to get films made, and she was associated with The Lovely Bones, which then didn't happen.
Yes, yeah, I heard that, yeah.
And so I just didn't think about it for the longest time.
Yeah.
And then Kevin came out, and I really didn't like that.
I actually haven't seen because everyone said they didn't like it, so I've avoided watching it. And then,
it's not an unreasonable response. Yep. Like everybody's around you saying,
yeah.
But it's a really... We Need to Talk About Kevin is a really frustrating movie because it is completely the opposite of Morvern Callar in its execution, which is that it keeps telling you what the subtext and themes are.
Ugh.
It goes through the book with a highlighter, basically.
Ugh.
And Tilda Swinton is very good.
Yes,
and
as always.
Exactly. I take nothing away from her performance, but the movie just saturates itself in what it's about, and ultimately has a pivot at the end that I found really illogical, but that's something you have to take up with the author and the adaptation.
Right, yeah.
But it made me go back to look at Morvern Callar again because it was so different an experience that I thought, well, wait, did I completely... I remember Morvern Callar being this slow, quiet... I mean, it's noisy, but it's not emotionally loud.
Yeah.
This subtle, tiny, suffocatingly slow study, and I kind of pushed myself into watching it again, and I really liked it.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that isn't just because once the expectation of an unknown is removed, I don't know how to articulate it really, but when you watch a movie a second time, no matter what, you're not going to have the same preconceptions, or you'll have different preconceptions. The pace, the story, some part of your brain isn't trying to figure out where it goes.
Yeah.
And so that let me just sink into Morton's performance, and she's amazing.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Watching it again just the other day, I was like, I can't take my eyes off of you the whole time. You're just so... She's so mesmerizing in it, but it also feels like she's doing so little. Like, I think a lot of the time, I feel like it's such a great example of the power of the close-up, because so much of the film is just you following her face and watching her reactions and like trying to understand what's going through her head. But, and I feel like it's interesting because... of Lynne Ramsay's choice to shoot it so much in close-ups, I think that works so well at bringing you into her character, because otherwise if it was all wide shots, you'd just be like, wow, this is a really alienating film about an alienating character, but with the close-ups you're just like you can't do anything but be with her through that journey.
Yeah, and it's the lack of another face to focus on in a room with a corpse for that first movement is really off-putting as well.
Yeah. You don't even see her boyfriend's face. Yeah. I just realized that.
You have no idea how to take it. Right? Yeah. Like it just... I read Roger Ebert's review a little while ago just to refamiliarize myself with the other critical takes on it, and he is convinced that it was a class study, that because Morgan is working class...
I read his review as well.
Yeah. That this is a betrayal that only an educated, spoiled man could come up with.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah, but it's fascinating because we have exactly as much information as he does, right? Like that's the conclusion he reached, and I just, whenever there's a suicide of a young person in a film, I tend to think that was, it's an expression of illness or sadness or depression or something. But of course the whole point is we can't really know what his reasons are.
Exactly.
And Morton doesn't give us anything. Like, she doesn't show us how Morvern feels about him. Yeah. So we're even more adrift that way?
Yeah, your only clues are really his suicide note, which I agree with Roger Ebert. It's very condescending. Yeah. Like, Morvern, don't try to understand this. Don't underline. Yes. Like, really? Okay. Like, she couldn't possibly. She's not smart enough.
Yeah, I like that he mansplains his own death.
Yeah, right.
That's sort of cool.
Yeah, classic.
Someday I hope to do that.
Upon rewatching it, it struck me as like such a selfish move, and then it's sort of met with Morvern's selfishness in taking the book for her own gain, and just I love that shot where you just see her deleting his name one character at a time and writing her own, and it's so painstakingly slow, but it's so great. I remember the first time I was like, how could she possibly and watching it again I was like, yeah, of course, that guy seems like a jerk, and she literally has nothing else. And I love the shot where she so gingerly like takes that bit of cash out of his back pocket and looks at how much there is and then puts some of it back. Because we were saying we don't really know much about the boyfriend at all. We don't even see his face, but it's through her interaction with the body and the note and the book that we're getting all these clues about their relationship. And it's funny because I think when I rewatched it the first time, I think that I was like, oh, she was deeply in love with him, and now when I rewatched it the other day, I was less sure of that. But I think again, I'm projecting maybe a lot of my own life experiences onto the character, which I think is sort of the beauty of a film like that, where we're not given a lot of explanation about what's going on. You end up just projecting your own life experiences onto the character, which is what we found, to do a little segue, what we found with Great, 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 my film, because we're not explaining so much of what's going on in Lauren's head. So we found that the people who identify with her will come up to us and give us very personal ways that they identify with her, or fiance Tom. And I love it. It's so interesting to talk to people after they watch the film. And yeah, it always surprises me, because it's like we've put something very personal into the film, and then people just feel comfortable coming up to us and sharing something really personal about their lives, and it's awesome.
It is a weird thing, right? I mean, when you're so specific as to be almost oblique, like when you can only convey what it means to you, somehow other people feel that it's their experience or it relates to them in some way.
Yeah.
And with Morvern Callar, like any interpretation is equally valid, or all interpretations are equally valid, because he's gone. Like there's nothing of him. We never even really read his book, so we don't know who he was.
Exactly. I think I found that quite frustrating the first time as well. You don't even know what the book is about. These publishers love it, and they're going to give her £100,000 for it, which is 2002
is a lot of money.
Yeah, which is insane. Like I read another review by The Guardian, which is sort of pointing out the plot holes in it, and they're like, by the way, that would never happen. No one gets that much money. All these things that really I found frustrating the first time. The second time I was just sort of like, sure, we don't need to know that. It's not important. It's not about the book. It's about her and her reaction to everything that's going on around her.
Yeah, and once you stop worrying about what it all means, you can figure it out.
Yeah.
You can figure out what it means on your own terms, or what you need it to mean.
Yeah.
And that's really fascinating about this sort of narrative when it works, when it actually lands. And the fact that the film doesn't give you a big climactic explanation is also really important, because we need to talk about Kevin goes in the opposite direction and shows you this flashback at the very end, which is supposed to explain everything, but just makes you ask more questions about the events that you see and why people would blame this character for what happens in that character's head and all that. And this just felt, the first time, incredibly frustrating. It's an exercise in self-denial and a performance that is so contained that it appears to be blank until you look closer.
Exactly, yeah. I think, her face is so expressive in ways that sort of goes back and forth between being sort of this childlike naivete and then this sort of older, wiser, very guarded person. And I think that, there's so much tension created through her performance and the way the story is told, and all these contradictions from the start of the film when you see this body and she's lying beside it, but she's not crying, and then she goes out to a party with her friends and doesn't tell anyone that he's dead, and you're just like, what is going on inside your head? But I think that's okay. I mean, whatever, you know, she's just dealing with it in her own strange way, and that's okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think flashbacks would, or any kind of explanation would reduce the impact. I mean, it would make it less interesting to know, oh, she was always a little weird about emotions, or she's so profoundly in love with him that this has just shattered her and crushed her and she has no ability to function. Any of those things is possible. I have this pet theory that, you know, the first time you experience profound grief, I think, is the most fundamental thing that can happen to a person. You know, like, you are a different person afterwards. I mean, you have all your memories and you have all of your responses, but you're not the same person you were. And maybe that's, you know, the loss of innocence or the coming of age or the first encounter with adult responsibility. But I think, you know, you could even argue that this movie starts when Morvern is created, when this version of her begins, if you believe that she was so desperately invested in him in the first place.
Exactly, yeah. It's this idea that, like, his death is her rebirth. Yeah. So at the beginning...
The first day of the rest of her life.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I love that idea. But it's just sort of... I guess what we're watching in the film is the in-between stage of that, like, her trying to figure out what she wants, and just the small choice to leave her town at the end. I love. It's like, that's all you need to know, that she's escaping that life. And the relationship with her best friend Lana, who at the end she's just like, well, it's the same crap everywhere, Morvern. It's not, you know, nothing's gonna change, people are the same everywhere you go. And it's just so pessimistic and sad. And I love that Morvern's like, nope, I'm going. And she doesn't even say goodbye. She's just like, oh, I'm going to go to the bathroom, and then gets up and leaves. Yeah. And it's just like, oh, man.
It's really... I mean, if you wanted to frame it as the work of someone who's profiting off of death or just... I mean, the first time I saw it, I thought I got so caught up in the idea that there was no possible way that the publishing of the book would hold up, that the book would come out and, you know, doesn't this guy have friends? Don't people know he was writing something? Is that why she's bugging out at the end, because she's fleeing, trying to get out ahead of everything?
Yes.
But I don't think so now. I mean, on second viewing, I really don't think so. I think that she's somebody who has incredibly simple tastes, aspirations, and suddenly her world is expanded by the possibility of the money. And that's enough to do all of these things. But I don't think... I mean, I don't know. Was she working as a supermarket cashier while he finished his novel? Was she putting him through, like, the equivalent of putting him through school? Does she believe that she's owed this success as much as he would have been? Yeah. Is the book really hers? I mean... Yeah.
Oh, that's so interesting.
It's all... I mean, obviously he wrote it, but... Yeah. What if she does feel that she owns it? What if she's reclaiming her life after this guy destroys his?
Yeah, what if it's about her?
Yeah. I mean, it's impossible to know, because the film will not tell you.
Yeah, it's based on a book,
Yeah, and I was going to say, the book apparently withholds a great deal as well.
Oh, okay, yeah, interesting. I never read the book.
No, me neither.
I wonder how that would read as a book. I mean, you must be much more inside her
I think it's her interior monologue. I mean, I guess I was going to say it would have to be, maybe not. Maybe the only way to do it is describe it in third person.
That just sounds like a very boring book. I don't know. Because the film, I mean, it's visual, but then you have the sound, the music as well.
Yeah, we haven't even gotten to the mixtape, the idea of being left with...
Yeah, this mysterious mixtape. I love the use of music in the film, how a lot of the time it acts as a counterpoint to what's going on screen. I mean, there's, of course, the scene where she is dismembering the body before burying it. And I remember, seeing that for the first time and just being like, what? Or you like, this is so gross. Oh my God. And then the second time watching it and thinking, whoa, she is so cool. It's just like the way she dresses up for it. And I mean, the fact that she's almost totally nude is it's just such a weird tension again that Lynne Ramsay is creating, because you're like, am I supposed to be turned on by this? She's doing something so violent, but it's sort of sexualized, but then you're also listening to this really unsexy song.
It's the Velvet Underground, right?
I'm sticking with you. Yeah, and it's
sung by Mo Tucker, right? In a weird sing-song voice.
Yeah,
I always assumed it was her. I should know these things.
You should know these things. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's Velvet Underground, but it wasn't Lou Reed.
No, definitely.
Yeah, no.
And it's, I was trying to figure that out as you were saying, like, that it is weirdly sexual. Maybe it's because it's primal. It's just so like it's caveman stuff.
Yeah.
Or cavewoman stuff in a really weird way that you're seeing someone erase a person.
Yeah.
On a level and that's what she does over and over again too, like literally changing the name of the authorship of the book.
Yeah.
But she doesn't report the death. She doesn't mention it to anyone. She clearly puts up with the corpse until it starts to become untenable.
Yes. Oh yeah, that great scene where she's just like spraying air freshener everywhere, and you're like, oh right, the smell. Right. Oh god.
But just mechanically, without any investment emotionally, this is how she's handling it.
Yeah.
And then when she finally does dispose of the corpse, she reveals herself on every conceivable level. Like, she's showing us Morton is showing us her body, but Morvern is showing us her absolute lack of concern for this person. Like, this is the last thing she's doing before moving on, and it's just this grisly cleanup that she's clearly thought through more than anything else she does in the film, because everything else feels so impulsive.
Yeah, and it's like very precise. Yeah.
And it really is just, it's unlike anything. I mean, Ramsay has this sort of, she eroticizes things in her other films. Like, Ratcatcher is a strangely, like, pre-sexual movie.
This is so embarrassing, but I haven't seen it.
It's okay. There are a lot of movies out there.
People keep referencing, and then her in Ratcatcher, and I'm like, I haven't seen it.
Well, DVD's right behind you. You're welcome to borrow it.
I would love to.
It's a Criterion release. I think it's the only one of her films to get a Criterion release.
Oh, how sad.
And still no Blu-ray either, which is weird. It's a film that's tactile in a sensual way without, that sounded so pretentious. It's very much engaged with the world around it. It's about a kid carrying guilt, like a profound guilt that he doesn't really fully understand. But also, he's a kid, so there's all kinds of physical stuff going on. There's dirt in the world. There's things to play with. There's stuff to touch, and it almost feels like it's pulling into puberty in a really, really strange way that I don't think I could possibly articulate any more elegantly. But it's about the understanding, the awakening of understanding, and like, sexuality is a part of that. And we need to talk about, Kevin has a great deal of tactile imagery in it. There's this whole thing about like the tomato run in Italy somewhere, where you just squeeze tomatoes are everywhere, and it's the color of violence and all of that stuff. But it's very physically palpable. And then this, which is, I mean, there's sex in the film, and it's not good. Like, it's not presented as a net positive. It's an escape, if anything.
Exactly. Yeah, when she's in Spain, and I love that she just follows that insect out of her room, and it goes into that other guy's room, and it's just seems so random. She knocks on his door, and he's grieving because his mother has died, and then they take E or whatever, and then get high and have sex, and then it's over. And she's like, I have to go. And I find it really interesting in the film how she's, I feel like, trying to connect with people around her, and then she'll either get pushed away by, like, her best friend, who she does try to, she tells her at some point that he's dead. He's dead, and she's like, what? I don't believe you.
She just doesn't accept it.
Yeah, and that to me was so heartbreaking, because I'm like, this is your best friend, and her best friend sort of makes the disappearance of the boyfriend about her by admitting that she hooked up with him at one point, and she thinks that's why he's run away. And Morven's just like, "You're out of your mind! Like, you don't understand anything." So it's just like her like reaching, trying to make these real human connections, but so much of it is so artificial or superficial.
Yeah. I mean, it's a movie about surface behavior, right?
Yeah.
It's about Morvern projecting a version of herself that's successful and projecting a version of herself that isn't broken inside by whatever's happening to her.
Yeah.
And everything over and over and over again is all about how she performs herself to other people. But I still don't know who the real one is, and I think that's the whole point. I think I've interviewed Morton subsequently, and I didn't get to ask her about it because we didn't have time, and it's just sticks in my craw that I missed my window. But I don't think she would. I don't think she would want to tell me. She wouldn't want to be asked. I think as an actor,
that's not. I think it would be hard to. I think it'd be a difficult question to answer.
Well, I mean, with Great, the whole point of motivation is, I think it's pretty clear, but that's my interpretation of the psychology of the film. I think what happens is, I'm not even going to go into it for people listening because I'm pretty sure they won't have seen Great yet, so go see that.
Yeah.
But it lines up in an interesting way with Morvern Callar because they're both about female protagonists who keep their motivations to themselves, who won't crack, or who crack in ways that aren't conventional, dramatic revelations. And so, you're playing someone who has to be operating on a level that isn't immediately visible, I guess.
I think what you're saying about Morvern always sort of performing the successful version of herself, or trying to, that's very much what Lauren is concerned about in the film, just always keeping up the veneer of having a happy relationship and everything's just good, everything's great, and trying to maintain all these different contradictions in herself, all these different things that she wants, while just performing what she thinks her fiance wants. It sounds weird to say that out loud, but but the number of people who said like, yes, I know what that's like, and identified with her and Tom, and like both sides of it. I've come to realize, like, okay, great, I'm not the only one who feels like that. And people get it, which is really cool.
The thing about low budget dramas is that it tends to focus people on people. The stories have to be told with character based motivations and conflicts, and you're not going to have an explosion, and this movie doesn't have a dragon in it. Although that would be cool. You just tell people there's a dragon in a box that they never see.
Yeah, exactly. Watch out for the dragon at the end.
But the way you do that is by making people interesting, and I find it absolutely fascinating that, especially in the last 10 years, I think, as mumblecore has solidified into just a legitimate form of storytelling on a micro budget, that we can trust audiences to wait and watch and use silence and tension. Soderbergh talked about this 10-15 years ago when digital started to come in. He said he was really interested in the potential for long takes because you're just training audiences not to expect a cut.
Oh, interesting.
And stillness too, that you don't have wobble or judder in the frame, so people don't think they're watching a movie, they just start looking at life, I think is exactly how he put it.
Wow.
That stuck with me for a long time. I mean, maybe this was 2002, maybe, when Full Frontal came out, something like that, but it was a really interesting observation because he was also making the Ocean's movies, which are these candy-colored, fast-motion things. And then and on the other side of that spectrum, he's experimenting with stillness and level shots and just waiting for people to reveal themselves.
Yeah. Oh man, I saw Soderbergh talk during TIFF after.
The girlfriend experience.
Yes, were you there? Oh, so good. It's the first season was one of the best things that I saw on TV. It's
sitting over there. I haven't got to it.
Oh
yet.
Yeah. Oh my god, it's so good. And Amy Seimetz, Lodge Kerrigan, so brilliant. And so I was super excited to see the first 2 episodes of the second season, and
which is totally different, right? Like
exactly, yeah,
abandoned the stories.
Yeah, completely different storyline. Well, anyway, I could go on about this forever, but they had this long Q&A session after they screened the 2 episodes with Soderbergh and Amy Seimetz, Lodge Kerrigan, and 3 of the key cast members.
Oh, cool.
And it was such a treat. It was so wonderful. I'm so excited for the show. Anyway, everyone should watch Girlfriend Experience.
To see anything. I never get to do anything cool like that. I guess really we've kind of already touched on it, but the question of what, if anything, you've drawn from Morvern Callar. I mean, is there any part of it that's in your creative DNA or something that you use?
Oh, that's a hard question. Yeah, what's in my creative DNA? I think that part of the reason I really admire her performance, Samantha Morton's performance, is just so uninhibited, and she's so vulnerable in it, but yet there's still I hate describing characters as being really strong, because I think that's sort of a dumb word. I don't know. I prefer the word vulnerable and human, complex. There's such a complexity to her, but it's presented in a simple way, I guess. And I just rewatching it, I was just struck by how brilliant a performance it is, because like we were saying at the beginning, you feel like she's kind of doing nothing, but there's so much happening there. And that's, I mean, I would never want to compare my performance in Grey Got Grey to Samantha Morton, but I think there are similarities between our characters, like we were saying. And
yeah, I mean, well, when you suggested this, it immediately lined up in my head where, yep, okay, I totally see where that would be part of it, or potentially anyway, an inspiration. And you co-wrote the film.
Exactly.
So what was the genesis of it? Where did it come from?
My director and co-writer, Adam Garnet Jones, we've been working together for like almost 15 years now, since we met in university. And we had both been in long-term relationships that we each ended when we were in our 20s. And we felt that we were watching our friends go through a similar experience as well. Like around the time that people were turning 30, everyone sort of decided to either get married or break off their long-term relationship. And we were both at the point in our careers where, this is about 4 years ago when we first came up with the idea for the film. We just wanted to work on something new. We wanted to make a feature together. We had made a bunch of shorts together. And when we were thinking about ideas, I was just like, well, why? It has to be something manageable. I want to play the lead role, and so why not, write about what we know, what's been going on in our lives. And I don't know, I guess it sounds like a cliche, but we had to make it something that we could shoot ultra low budget. Adam and I just financed the production portion ourselves, and then everyone worked on a deferred basis, and we got money from Telefilm to complete the film later on. But yeah, in terms of the story itself, we, I guess, just wanted to explore what was sort of driving ourselves and our friends to either take that next step in relationships or throw it out the window. And we felt that we hadn't really seen that specifically explored in a film before, because so many films talk about the beginning of a relationship or the total end of a relationship and what happens after the end of the relationship. But we wanted to talk about what happens in the middle, like when you're really when you feel stuck, and there's a lot of uncertainty that you might not want to talk to your partner about. It's just like very uncomfortable.
Well, I mean, people who can't articulate what's driving them, it's always been a source of fascination to me. So I'm glad that somebody's exploring that space in a way. But also, was there ever, did you ever just want to have her cut somebody up? Just, just to bring it in, just to line it up.
I mean, maybe not in Great, but I would sort of love to have like a super violent scene. That sounds awful, but just to be able to go there as an actor, I think that would be really fascinating and fun, because it's obviously something I wouldn't do in real life. Yeah. But to do a scene like that one in Morvern Callar, like that, I think would be really fun in a twisted way. Yeah.
Do one thing that scares you, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Just what you said now just triggered something. The idea of doing something that scared me. I wanted to take on a role that would push me as an actor and give me lots of challenges and still be, fun in the end. The film has lots of comedic elements. Mm-hmm. We cast a lot of really great comedic actors in it. I wanted to create a role for myself that allowed me to explore lots of different things. And I was in almost every scene. So when we started shooting, I was like, oh my God, what have I done? I'm producing this and I have to cook dinner for everyone on the crew tomorrow. Like, what have I got myself into? But it was still, I was just so grateful that it came together, that we were able to make it. It's still sort of, it is unbelievable that it all happened and that I'm sitting here talking to you about this. It's insane.
No, it worked out. It's what it's supposed to happen.
It's what's supposed to happen.
My thanks to Sarah Kolasky, who you can see in Great, either in landmark cinemas across Canada this Wednesday, October 4th, or when it opens nationwide on Friday. She's really good, and so is the movie. You should check it out. You can find Sarah on Twitter at Sarah_Kolasky, all one word, and you can find Morvern Callar on DVD if you dig around a little bit. The US release from Palm Pictures and the Canadian release from Alliance are out of print, but they're still in stock at most online retailers and in used stores everywhere. And if you're in the US or UK, you can stream the movie on Amazon Video right now. As always, you can find me on Twitter at Norm Wilner and elsewhere on the internet at nowtoronto.com. You can also find this podcast on Twitter at Semcast, SEMcast, and on the web at someoneelsesmovie.com. If you want to leave a review up on iTunes or Apple Podcasts or wherever, that would be really nice of you. Also, that is Mo Tucker on I'm Sticking With You. I do know things. Thanks for listening.
I'm afraid you're just too darn